Kayla, can you mute the computer? All right, we're on Genesis 42. Grandpa, can you open us in prayer, please? Okay, we got 38 verses to get through. Read it all, then we'll go back and discuss. When Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" And he said, "Indeed, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us there, that we may live and not die." So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he said, "Lest some calamity befall him." And the sons of Israel went to buy grain among those who journeyed, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was governor over the land, and it was he who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke roughly to them. Then he said to them, "Where do you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Then Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them, and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said to him, "No, my lord, but your servants have come to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies." But he said to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And in fact, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more." But Joseph said to them, "It is as I spoke to you, saying, You are spies. In this manner you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh you shall not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother, and you shall be kept in prison, that your word may be tested to see whether there is any truth in you. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies." So he put them all together in prison 3 days. Then Joseph said to them the third day, "Do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house, but you, go and carry grain for the famine of your houses. And bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you shall not die." And they did so. Then they said to one another, "We are truly guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore this distress has come upon us." And Reuben answered them, saying, "Did I not speak to you, saying, 'Do not sin against the boy,' and you would not listen? Therefore, behold, his blood is now required of us." But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned himself away from them and wept. Then he returned to them again and talked with them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph gave a command to fill their sacks with grain, to restore every man's money to his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. Thus he did for them. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain and departed from there. But as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey feed at the encampment, he saw his money, and there it was in the mouth of his sack. So he said to his brothers, "My money has been restored, and there it is in my sack." Then their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, saying to one another, "What is this that God has done to us?" Then they went to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan and told him all that had happened to them, saying, "The man who is Lord of the land spoke roughly to us and took us for spies of the country. But we said to him, 'We are honest men. We are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest is with our father this day in the land of Canaan.' Then the man, the Lord of the country, said to us, 'By this I will know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother to me, so I shall know that you are not spies, but that you are honest men. I will grant your brother to you, and you may trade in the land.' Then it happened as they emptied their sacks that surprisingly each man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, 'You have bereaved me. Joseph is no more. Simeon is no more. And you want to take Benjamin. All these things are against me.' Then Reuben spoke to his father, saying, 'Kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you.' But he said, 'My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any calamity should befall him along the way in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to the grave.'" Question number 1. Did the famine reach the land of Canaan where the Israelites were? So we don't actually know the full extent of the famine. We know it covered majority of the land of that area. Covered all of Egypt, covered the fertile areas of Africa, covered Mesopotamia, it went through Turkey. Outside of that, we don't really have a whole lot of records outside of the Bible that help actually state how big the famine was. A lot of people just are like, you just had a big drought, you had bad rainfall, all that stuff over a consecutive number of years led to this. Now, obviously, this is very drastic and over the top. This is like a God gift to mankind. But we don't actually know how big of a region it went. We obviously know it's big enough that they went to Egypt rather than trying to go somewhere else.
It shows the importance of Egypt at this time also.
This time, Egypt is the main world power.
The main world power.
So you had tribes scattered around in a handful of places, up in Turkey, obviously over in Mesopotamia, over by Babylon area. You had tribes in India and in China. And then you had tribes down through Ethiopia, down along the southern portion of Africa. And even outside of that, we don't have a whole lot of records from this time period from back then.
Pretty much if we had to say, it'd be the whole Middle East down to Africa.
Most of the known world at that time was fighting this, basically. This is where also it's like, okay, well, what happens to all the people who couldn't make it to Egypt? So like obviously it won't cover the entire world. That wouldn't be realistic. But it covered the major area here, and this is where our focus is. And it's where most of the people are. Obviously, there's other people around that probably weren't ever affected by this, but they're not relevant to this story anyway. Question 2. Who did Jacob send to Egypt for grain? Okay, I find this interesting because the three oldest already married. We have actually 4. Judah, he's already gone through prior to this. His wife and his sons dying and that whole fiasco, that's already taken place. He had already made an encampment, then come back to Jacob for advice, and then he left again. So obviously, the older sons who have kind of started to establish themselves all came back to Jacob when the famine showed up. So, Dad, what do we do? So they're all here. They're all with Jacob, and Jacob sends all of them, all the older ones, right? Joseph obviously is in Egypt, which they're not aware of anything going on with Joseph. And Benjamin, he's keeping home. But the rest, he sent them all.
That was an interesting thing to me also. I wonder, they each had servants. One would think, one would expect. It wasn't just 10 men going, it was 10 men. Well, I shouldn't say this, I speculate.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. It just says Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. Doesn't say they came with other people. Obviously, Joseph and his interactions with them are only with his brothers. You have to think, he sends all 10. It's a journey. It's going to take multiple days. The Israelites failed, but it took them 40 years to get back up there. But walking, or donkeys, or whatever they're using, it's still going to take a while to get to Egypt.
The land of Canaan, that's a long way from Egypt.
Yeah.
And it probably took them 2 weeks to walk, at least 2 weeks. I'm just, the one thing, you speculate because people walked all the way across the United States too. So, if they didn't do it in 3 days, it took them a month.
So all the sons went. Part of it is you have safety in numbers. sending 2 of them out. There's a group of them. They're not really going to be attacked or anything like that. But they're all grown men at this point, considering how old Joseph is, and Joseph's the youngest. Joseph's like 30. So the eldest here is like getting closer to 45, most likely. So they're all grown, strong men. There's no problems there. The other thing is there a reason to keep any of them back home with the famine going on? It's just more mouths to feed. And they can't, it's not like there's stuff to do around there. There's no flocks to send out and herd and anything like that because there's no feed anywhere. So it's kind of logical to send all of them anyway.
Well, they still have 10 donkeys. They each have their own donkey, and one would assume that they probably took more than one donkey each one of them. So they still have some livestock left.
Yeah.
It made me think that Joseph was the favorite son earlier. And it made me think that now Benjamin is the favorite son. So the rest of you can go off and if something happens to happen, try to keep the favored one home.
Yeah. Well, and that is why Benjamin stayed, and he's very reluctant to let Benjamin go afterward. I mean, Benjamin took Joseph's place.
Benjamin's mom was dead by now, right?
Well, Benjamin's mom is Rachel, who died giving birth to Benjamin.
Giving birth to
Yeah. But I mean, Benjamin is similar to Joseph in the sense that he was raised in the tents. He wasn't raised in the fields. He was kept home. He learned the lineages and all that stuff. You know, he learned history, things that the shepherds don't care about. So that wasn't what he was. No, it wasn't his chores. I mean, that was what Joseph didn't. I mean, he went and ran errands, but he didn't go spend 2 months with the brothers out there. He went to go check on them. He'd be gone for a couple days. Question 3. What did Joseph claim his brothers were? And if you were Joseph, what would you have done?
I don't blame him for trying to teach him a lesson.
Into the pit.
I don't blame him.
get even with
I don't blame him one bit.
And they're coming undone just because he's so tough and like he doesn't like us for some reason.
One thing I know, I would check the veracity of this story to the extent that I could.
So you have to think about, like, he recognizes them. Obviously, they don't recognize him.
Well, I saw a movie. How would you recognize somebody with an apple growing out the back of his head?
You can also tell that he still cared about him, because he was weeping, turned around and started weeping, so he cared.
Yeah, well, it's a multifaceted thing. I mean, any information he wants to get about his father, he has to somehow get them to tell him without knowing. Anything he wants to find out about anybody from back home, how are they doing? Who's still alive? What's happened? Right? They're his only source of information. He also wants to know if they're still just as mean and ornery as they were when he was younger. Right? How's their character like? Have they changed at all?
Here's another thing that I thought about when I read the story.
Yes.
So they've got to be a little bit careful about those kinds of people. Spies, that's not
Yeah.
illogical.
Yes. Yeah, he didn't blame them for being like tax collectors or something. That doesn't make any sense. And it's something that, like, if you get pinned with the term spy on you, in a country like that where he has absolute authority, you're not expected to live for very long.
Yeah, you're done. They aren't gonna send you home, that's for sure.
I found it interesting too because I didn't really realize this till I had reread this again. He makes an original statement and then changes it afterward. Because his first statement to them is that I'm going to keep all of you and just send one back home. And then he changes that to I'm keeping one of you and the rest of you can go back home.
Well, again, I saw the movie and they were, the eldest was begging for that to happen. I saw the movie.
Also, do you know why he picked Simeon?
Simeon was, that guy.
He's the one that decided that we should kill him.
Yeah.
The little idea sprouted from his mouth.
But every time he said, put on Sim, put on it must have just stuck in Joseph's front for that every time.
That's, I thought about that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, when people say, well, honestly, well, does that mean the last thing you said wasn't honest? You know? Huh.
It's interesting too that they showed up and they bowed down, and then after they bowed down, and he's asking like, "Where do you come from?" and he recognized them, then he remembered the dreams after that. After that, all that took place. In which case, right after he remembered all the dreams.
If you dreamed, had dreams like that and then ended up in prison,
Well, I don't know. Hasn't happened to me.
all thoughts of hierarchy would go right out the window if you're in prison.
No, I know that, but I'm saying like after they bowed down is when he remembered. And then immediately following that, he calls them spies. Like he doesn't lord it over them right off the bat. He doesn't give himself away. He starts the charade. Um,
Charade, or he's trying to get even for a little bit.
well, how long did he put them in prison?
3 days.
I mean, he could have kept them for a long time, but he also needs to send them back home because he needs to feed his family. So as much as you want to take it out on them, he needs to keep it, remember why are they there in the first place? And then Joseph's not dumb. He figures out a way to make them come back. Now, he also knows how long the famine's going to last. And we don't know when in the famine this took place. Probably the end-ish of the first year. And we know when they come back the second time, and then he reveals himself to them later, he tells the whole family to come because it's still going to last for a while. But, I mean, it's not like the second month. Everything's quite dead yet. But this is still early on. They're going to come back. He knows they're going to come back. They're going to have to come back for the brother. And he's now making it to where he can see Benjamin, which is one of the things he wanted to see really bad. Verse 18, too, it says in here, do this and live, for I fear God. He's telling this via interpreter to the brothers. Now, in our Bible, because it's in letters, the G is capitalized. We know what God that means. If they're being told that spoken via interpreter, Egypt has a lot of gods. They don't necessarily know what he's meaning. But yeah, verse 19, if you are honest men, do this. And we'll see how honest you actually are. Question 4, did Joseph require proof? This is back to him calling them spies. But did he need proof? Like if they wasn't his brothers, this is where it's like, a ruler who has good character is a good ruler, and one doesn't have good character, life could be really bad. Because you look at him wrong and he just kills you. Because he doesn't need a reason. So him calling them spies, yeah, they can defend themselves, but if he doesn't care about proof, they're dead. Now, obviously, a lot of this has to do with scare tactics. Right? I mean, calling them spies is for them, it's a pretty drastic thing. I mean, they have to somehow convince him they're not so that they survive. I mean, it's not like a slap on the hand type punishment. So, next part of the question is, did he go too far in his plot? In the sense that of scaring them. And what do you think his goal was?
Here's the other thing. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on at the same time. This Joseph wasn't, they were there multiple days. So it's not like Joseph didn't take care of other business while he was doing this business.
Yes.
So, and they were saying things to each other a lot of stuff. There's a whole bunch of conversation that's going on that we don't know about.
Yes. Well, we have part of it, but yes.
But there's a whole bunch more.
Well, probably a lot of it's complaining.
Right. And it's interesting. Stuff that we're saying here is really interesting.
I don't think he went too far with it because he already knew they were struggling. There's one way to bring Benjamin back and then eventually bring the whole family back. I guess you could say to save them from death, even though they didn't. Joseph knew what he was doing, but they didn't have a clue what he was trying to do. So.
Okay, I get that, but this is specifically concerning the fact that he's calling them spies. He could spin a web in a couple of different ways that wouldn't put the fear of death in them.
But they needed the fear of death, I believe.
I think this
For
is
one thing, life is cheap back in those days.
I think he wants to put into them, make them feel similar to how he felt. Part of this is a little bit of revenge, which God has put him in the position to do so. He's doing it not over the top, because he's not like actually hurting them, right? And he is going to save his family and everything else. And he makes sure it ends well. But this little middle, it's a little bit of a trial for them. The other thing is that your character doesn't really get tested until problems arise. And for them who don't know, this is a really big problem. So if you have something that, if well, I mean, their situation too, but like you get convicted of treason, which is a punishable by death sentence in pretty much every nation in the world. And you're obviously not guilty for that punishment, but that's what's been given to you. How are you going to handle that? Are you going to like go talk to God? Are you going to rail against the world? Are you going to shout and scream and kick and throw a tantrum that's not fair? Like, what is your reaction going to be? He wants to see what their character is and if it's changed, because he knows what they were like growing up, at least in reference to him. But it's been a while. Are they still just as mean as before? And you're not going to see that coming from a stranger's perspective, right? He's not close to them. So the only way to really do that is to put them in a situation where it's going to naturally come out, which generally happens when you're freaked out and scared.
And in this case, they were very concerned about their flock.
Yeah.
They were really concerned about their death.
So part of the other question here that follows right up with that is, why do you put them in prison for 3 days?
What did he have? He had other things to do. It's not like he could just drop everything and,
Okay, but he could have put them in for 7 days.
okay. Because he did 3 days on the front.
3 is, a great number, but I mean, that wasn't necessarily what I was going towards. But they are not there. They're not in like secluded cell where nobody else has anything to do with them. They're going to be watched. They're going to be tracked. 3 days gives him enough time to go deal with other stuff. But people are going to report to him what they're talking about, what their character is going on. Are they getting in fights with each other? Are they yelling and screaming? Are they okay with their lot in life, per se? He's going to get reports about how they're acting while they're in prison. He doesn't actually have to be there. It's going to give them time to sit there and stew over this and think about it. I mean, right after this, we have a whole conversation where they're kind of arguing with each other a little bit on who's to blame, right? Because that's what we like to do. Who can we blame? It's not our fault.
It's the lady's fault.
Yeah. There's no lady here.
It's always the woman's fault.
Don't say that, John. You're going to mark us for death.
If you show up before her in glasses next weekend, and next Sunday, I'm gonna croak.
You weird.
Wasn't a little bit worried about them going back and living back into what they've done to him. I think he was a little bit worried about what they can do to the other one.
Like Simeon? Or who do you mean?
What they would do to Benjamin when they're bringing him back, probably laying his seat, something like that there.
They
If
kind
I
of
were
could.
Joseph, I probably would have had that back in my mind. Okay, they did this to me, what would happen?
Yeah. They kind of couldn't, though, because even told him the one brother, I guess you'd say a hostage.
Oh, he's very much a hostage.
Yeah, so I guess you'd say it was collateral, so they brought him back. And he
So-
wasn't dead.
Here's the other thing too, though, is
That's proof of their relationship to their father, was whether they would
ditch
put
Simeon.
Benjamin
If Benjamin shows up in Egypt, Joseph can keep him there. Well, yes, but I mean, like, he's now secure. Whether he trusts his brothers or not, as long as they get him there on fear of Simeon, something happening to Simeon, as soon as he's there, I mean, he can make it where Benjamin like never leaves, whatever. He can throw whatever story he wants or do whatever, but he can secure Benjamin. Benjamin is now safe. Nothing's going to happen to him. So, I mean, whether that was part of the plot or not doesn't matter too much, but that could also just be running through his head. If I can just get him here, then we're okay.
I don't know that, or this is what's running through my head is what are the brothers going to do without the ringleader now?
Well, there's multiple ringleaders.
Well, I know, but that you got one less in the bunch.
Yeah.
Seeing if the other ones have changed, I guess you'd say their character or their opinion of what they could.
Part of it is that the older ones were really close. They did a lot of things together. I mean, Joseph was the outlier. The other brothers, they were a lot closer. They were always together. So having them miss one, their relationship with one another was a lot stronger than Joseph's relationship to any of them, Benjamin's relationship to any of them, probably even their father relationship to them.
I don't know, it might make them change differences. What if that was me?
Well, yeah.
That could change their attitude and how they look at things. I don't know, this is just what I'm thinking.
Well, part of their discussion, then they said to one another, verse 21, "We are truly guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore, this distress has come upon us." I mean, they are correlating this with what they did to Joseph. I mean, they're not like, they have no idea this is Joseph. They came up on their own that this is correlated directly with what we did to Joseph. Reuben then answers, "Did I not speak to you, saying, 'Do not sin against the boy,' and you would not listen? His blood is not required of us."
So they knew, or they suspected that it was not knowing who Joseph was. They still suspected this was to get even.
Well, this is their penance for the sins that they have committed. Yeah. So what did Joseph do when he sent them back? Minus Simeon.
Was it bags of grain and made sure to serve, or was it that thing that, I don't know if this is the right word, but I guess you say on that aspect showing mercy?
Yeah, but it's also from his side, it's like, my father doesn't need to pay for this food. It's my job to help feed the family.
And they still couldn't figure it out.
Well, I mean, they have no clue. I mean, this is completely sidelines for them.
I guess you'd say he just got blindsided and they didn't know.
But it also, it ruined their relationship. They weren't on many. They were, this money, it in fact was proof that they had no intention of paying.
He can use it for ammo as need be. Because now they've stolen grain, if he were, so to speak. Right? Because they have grain and money. They didn't spend the money, but they still have the grain. So that's stolen goods, if he were to so choose to bring that up.
It's interesting to me that Abraham must have been very, very wealthy. Very wealthy.
Abraham or Jacob? Well, I would say they're all wealthy, and it kept being handed down. And they kept growing it. I mean, Abraham was very wealthy, and he didn't have a whole lot of people following him, per se. The family, by the time it's Jacob's size, is like 70 people that are following Jacob. That's a decent encampment.
But it strikes me that that tribe, or whatever you wanna call it, that Jacob was the head man of, was very, very wealthy.
We have to also think about the fact that they're wealthy enough to the extent that most of their wealth is built in livestock. And yet they have enough silver to go buy grain multiple times. Yeah.
Plus, they still had donkeys, and donkeys only carried, on this kind of trip, they only carried 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah. Question 6. Did they, the brothers, give an honest report to Jacob? Yeah. I mean, everything that they told their father happened. And they didn't really skip anything. They went right through everything that took place, all the accusations, everything that happened to them. Our brother's stuck there. This is what he wants. We need to go back and get him.
They had no choice. Because they have to have a reason for Benjamin to go back.
It's just one of those things that, like, well, they don't have a history of being honest, right? And yet, this was important enough for them to be honest to Jacob. Because there's been multiple times, and, well, the main stories of the brothers so far has been a lot of lying.
You know, another thing, my mom always said, you lie. It always comes down, a lie is only temporary. Somewhere along the line, the answer will be, actually, itself probably related into way what's wrong.
So, what did Jacob decide to do? Technically, not yet. Next chapter, he kind of changes his mind, but at the end of this, it's like, I don't dare. If anything happens to him, you're going to put me in an early grave, basically. I also find it interesting that Reuben's like, if anything happens to him on my watch, you can kill my 2 sons. Which to Reuben is probably the biggest thing he can say. But for Jacob, it's like, I don't want your 2 sons. I want my son. Like, you know,
Reason for that, though, because the bloodline carries on. And the bloodline between Jacob and his favorite wife carried on. And Benjamin, he wasn't the eldest son, but he was the tenth boy.
I also think the other thing interesting is Jacob has, well, he's written off Joseph, right? Joseph is no more. Simeon is no more. He's written off Simeon as Simeon is dead to him. He's stuck in Egypt. You know, I'm not going to send Benjamin, so Simeon's going to be probably killed. And then you want me to send Benjamin, and it's like that's a no-go.
But hunger does a lot of stuff to you too.
Yeah, and Jacob's in charge of a lot of people and a lot of things. And you have your duty as a father and then a duty as person in charge of a lot of other lives also. And that's hard.
There's a reason I comment because on television they show you, everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know. But you show a starving dog or you show a starving child or it's just something that gets to you. Maybe see an old grandma with freezing to death and out of food and that just gets to you.
The way they worded it when we talked to Jacob, they didn't make it sound as scary as it was to me. I mean, when they said, he told us to leave one of your brothers with me. They didn't tell him, they bound him, they threw him back to jail, and he's gonna sit there until you show up again. Kind of worded it a little more softly.
Well, Jacob is getting older.
Yeah.
And I would say despair and heartbreak add years very quickly to a person. Also, they don't want to scare him into not letting Benjamin go. Right? If Jacob is like completely writes Simeon off, then he has no reason. If he doesn't think there's ever a chance that Simeon would be freed, then why even try? Right? They want to make it to where there's still hope in this situation. And so if they were to say everything that happened to them and how they felt, Jacob's like, no, even more so.
70 people around you starving to death has a lot to do with your attitude towards life.
Yeah, but that's next chapter.
A lot.
We'll get there.
Well, the famine has already started though.
Yes. But now they have food for a while, and they are not aware of how long the famine is going to last. Joseph has inside information. He interpreted the dream. Yeah.
Yeah. They have meat.
Okay.
And they evidently had a lot of some other stuff because the second trip, well, we won't get it.
Yeah, we'll get there. March 1st, we'll go through Genesis 43. It's a fun story. Gail, can you close us in prayer?